we're going to look at some harder problems which will involve squares and square roots. Before you start, make sure you know what direct and inverse proportion are and how to solve the questions. Have a look at this. A is directly proportional to b squared. When a is 32, b is 2. Find a when b is 5. So the way we write this is the same as always. We're going to write that a is directly proportional to b squared, because that's what it says in the question. Which means that as an equation with our constant of proportionality, we're going to write that a is equal to kb squared, because we write b squared instead of just b. Now let's sub in the numbers. 32 will be equal to k times 2 squared. Notice I did it like that because we said that b is 2, but the equation involves a b squared, so we need to make sure that the squared thing stays. Now let's find k. We know that 32 is equal to 2 squared is 4, so we're going to have 4 lots of k. Now let's divide both sides by 4, and we're going to get that k is equal to 8. So now let's rewrite our equation. We know that a will be equal to 8 lots of b squared. And the question wants us to find a when b is 5, so let's sub in b. We know that a will be 8 lots of 5 squared. 5 squared is 25, so a will be 8 times 25, and that means that a will be 200. And that's our answer. Now let's look at another question, but with a square root. So, a is inversely proportional to the square root of b. When a is 12, b is 25. Let's find b when a is 30. So the first thing we need to do is write our statement, which is that a will be directly proportional to the reciprocal of this. And what is this? Well, it's the square root of b. So we write it like that. Now let's write out our equation. We know that a will be equal to k, the constant of proportionality, divided by the square root of b. Now let's find out what k is. So let's sub in the numbers. When a is 12, b is 25. So 12 will be equal to k divided by the square root of 25. Now when we talk about the square root here, we talk about the positive square root, not the negative square root, because you can have either. So 12 will be equal to k divided by the positive root of 25, which is 5. Now let's solve the equation. Multiply both sides by 5, and we'll get that k is equal to 60. And we're done with k. So let's rewrite out our equation. We know that a will be equal to 60 divided by the square root of b. Now what's the question asking us to do? We need to find b when a is 30. So let's sub in a for 30. We are going to know that 30 is equal to 60 divided by the square root of b. So let's solve this. We need to multiply both sides by the square root of b so we can get this over to that side of the equation. So we're going to have 30 multiplied by the square root of b is equal to 60. And now let's divide by 30. So we're going to have the square root of b is equal to 2, because 60 divided by 30 is 2. The last bit, we need to get rid of that square root, so we're going to square both sides. So we'll have b is equal to 4. And that is our answer. These are the hardest questions you'll get. Sometimes you may get cubes or cube roots, but it's the same way of solving it. It's about plugging in b and keeping the square root or square signs. That's all of proportions done. If you're confused, go back and have another look. Everything has been very clearly covered in these videos. Okay, that's bye from me.